Do you know how long we're gonna be going for?
It's usually you speaking for about 20 minutes and handing it over and facilitating open forum.
Okay, that
So we
sounds
are
good.
on right now. Okay. It literally shows up as like before we even went live. So we're live right now, but that was kind of funny. I just watched it. Okay.
Oh,
Welcome to the Veteran Series. Right now we are here with Chris and Christine. And so I will open. The Veteran Series is here to connect veterans to veterans and veterans to valued resources, bring impactful speakers with education, key issues relevant to the veteran community, streamline the medical and claims process, and have open forums like this where we can just have conversation. So welcome, everyone.
yeah, welcome everybody. Chris, I know you're about to do your speech. I'm not sure if you could hear my dogs in the background, but sorry, someone must have just drove up my driveway. I know you're going to be talking about veteran business ownership, but just really quick, I just want to say thank you for coming on here and hanging out with Christine and myself and whoever hops on here. So really excited to hear what you have to say.
And who are you? Let's just do introductions while we're on it, Chris. You,
Okay.
elder.
So Chris Elder, Mill Vet podcast host and retired Navy senior chief, and I am living and going through my transition right now. So it's been a fun process, and I'm just really happy to be here.
Very cool. We've got, don't, Chris, you not yet, because we're going to highlight you.
Okay.
But I'm Christine. I am all things connecting. I'm with or on the board of a nonprofit that's local here in California called Patriots and Paws. I do a lot of other things in the community and a part of this Veteran Series Forum with Mill to Vet. And now I see Suzanne is here. So Suzanne, popcorn, it's you. Who are you? And you're muted. Oh no. Well, Suzanne, there you are. I see you halfway. Still can't hear you, although I see that you're
Did I
unmuted.
finally hit the right button? Oh, Christine, I appreciate your patience. Did it work?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Great. Oh, thank you so much for inviting me. So every week or every month, I'd rather you do these. And we've been doing this for years now. So thank you again, because thanks to your excellent work as ambassador, we have now this last week given another bulletproof vest to another police dog, this time to Anaheim Police Canine Odin. And I went Friday on Flag Day to Riverside to give a canine armor vest to Riverside Canine Leia, which was pretty special. So I just received another 1900. And for those of us who are not familiar with the work that Christine and I do for caninearmor.com, every time we get 1900 bucks, we go out and buy another vest and give it to another police dog. And we're up to over 180 dogs now that we've vested in 20 years that I've been doing this. And gosh, since 2019, when you and I first started teaming up, and we're cranking them out like hotcakes, right? So thank you so much for all the support you do for our veterans. And I became an elk because of you, because aren't you a member of the Elks there locally? And I went to squeeze them for a donation and they worked me, honey. So I became an elk. And now I come to veterans picnics and do serving and things to give back to all the people who gave so much to us. So thank you for inviting me. And for those who want more info, either go to caninearmor.com or ask Christine if you want us to come and do anything for especially veterans and anything to do with police dogs that we can help with, and given our bulletproof vest. So thank you again, Christine. God bless you.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So if you don't know, Canine Army is incredible. You can use your business, bring them along. You can donate to your local police department, fire department, any department with a dog, law enforcement, safety, right? Veterans. You can, on your own, pull 1900 out of your pocket. We will do a vesting ceremony to honor you and that department you choose. And please, please, please join us. This has been so incredible. It's so fun watching Suzanne and Canine Armor do this, and everyone can get involved. Okay. On to Norma. Norma, who are you? Tell us who you are. Give us a quick introduction.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Christine, for inviting me. First of all, I appreciate it. I am, I'm part of the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I'm one of the ambassadors there. So that's the first thing that I would like to know. So I work with a lot of small businesses, helping them grow their business. So that's part of what I do. My real job, I want to say, I'm a mortgage lender. I've been in the mortgage industry for a long time. I'm also a life license. I'm a mentor for the Hispanic 100. So I like to help, the youth, those students that are in transitioning from like 18 to 25 that are looking to get into the workforce. So I'm part of the Hispanic 100 that I help, mentor them. So that's kind of what I do. And I'm starting to work with Christine. So I'm very excited to see where this takes us.
Yeah, keep on the lookout for things that me and Norma are going to do together in business. We're going to help the community and the business community. Like, it's going to be
It's going to be great. Thank you, Christine, again.
Thank you. And so, Chris, would you like to introduce our speaker, Chris?
So Chris, okay, I got confused.
There's not too many Chris's. There's a lot of awesomeness going on in this Zoom with all the Chris's. So we got Chris Pachenko. He is a U.S. He's a Marine Corps veteran, now also runs his own business. He is also a veteran advocate. Just recently went to Washington, D.C. to really put the work into helping our community. So here he is. He's going to share his experience as a business owner with our community. So thank you, brother, for coming on, and let's go.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. So I'm Chris Pacheco. Like you said, Marine Corps veteran, served from 14 to 18, just did one contract. And yeah, just hit the ground running. I like, on the topic of like entrepreneurship and like business ownership, I've been involved with entrepreneurship since like I could remember, since 18 years old. I was older when I got into the Marine Corps. I was 21. But before that, I was, 18 years old, experimenting a lot, with business and just networking and just a lot of partying back then, stuff that I wasn't super happy about, but I was like, super proud of. I was definitely happy, but I just a lot of experimenting. My dad had passed away when I was a senior in high school, and I was just talking about this, like, I had this like all this freedom because it was during the recession back then, the credit crisis, 2009, 2010. Mom was always working. I was going to Cal Poly Pomona, and like this bug for entrepreneurship like just came into me. I joined the there was an organization back then called the Latino Business Student Association, and started attending like Chamber of Commerce. Then that led to me like meeting somebody where I was like, my first like sales job was selling magazine ads for like a Latino magazine back in Pomona. And I was going door to door, selling to these like Latino businesses. I got this guy who was a restaurant owner in downtown Pomona. Back then it's called Casa Jimenez, and went from like promoting his restaurant to doing events for like his restaurant in the evening, like nightclub stuff. So failed completely, but that was the start of my entrepreneurship stuff. I was in like the entertainment scene, flunked out of college. Mom kicked me out. I was 20 years old. I think I lived in my car for like 2 months with odd jobs in Orange County. But then I started getting, I left, I was working in restaurants. I worked at the Anaheim White House and Laguna Sapphire back then. It's good memories too, but started going to Santa Ana College. Thought I wanted to be a firefighter. Went to through their fire academy, and that's actually where I met a Marine Corps veteran who said, "Hey, Chris, like, it takes a long time, to become a firefighter in California, like, like years." I went to one firefighting job. I guess it was like a job fair. I saw people with gray hair there, and I came up to them and I was like, "Hey, like, like how long?" They're like, "I've been trying for 10 plus years to get into the department." And I'm like, "I don't got that kind of time. Like, I'm like living check to check." So this lady who was talking to me, she was a Marine Corps veteran, and she showed me her bank account. She had $250,000 in it. She's like, "Yeah, man, you're gonna make this money. You're gonna be good for yourself. You're already in shape. Just go." So I blindly went into the Marine Corps, and I was thinking I was gonna make some money. And then when my drill instructors told me how much we make like per month, it's just like, what? That's like less than minimum wage, you know? I ended up finding out that lady afterwards served 20 years, saved a bunch of money, has her disability, got her retirement, getting her GI Bill, right? So she didn't tell me all of that stuff. But anyway, so before the Marine Corps, I was kind of down on my luck about business, but I still had that bug in me, to like, I was like, I still want to do some entrepreneurship stuff. I had started a digital marketing company back then too. And so about 2 years in, when I was while I was in, a guy, a web developer that I was working with, randomly calls me and is like, "Hey, Chris," he was a startup web developer when I first met him, and he was doing our digital marketing with us. He was like, "Hey, Chris, I got more experience. I worked at a firm, but I need a salesman. Do you want to team up and do this business?" Now he's still my business partner to this day. We're coming up on 8 years that we've been doing this business since 2014. I'm sorry, 2016. It's called the Surge Digital. So we did digital marketing from web development to SEO, running ads, running building funnels, social media, content creation, blogs, everything. So while I was in the Marine Corps, I ended up going back to school, finished my bachelor's, and at the same time I was running this business, and at the same time full-time Marine. And I kind of had this like chip on my shoulder because a lot of like my staff had told me like, "Hey, like this is a lot that you're putting on yourself," and that really just pushed me to be an excellent Marine. And I was decorated. I got awards. Got promoted fast. And but I would say that I was just talking about this with a congressional office that we met in DC right now. Not everyone's transition is so well prepared because you're just told to do your job and be a soldier or be a seaman or be a Marine, and that's all that's basically expected from you. And a lot of guys still don't live up to that, right? And I'm calling those people out because there was a lot of it's hard to step up because it sucks being in the military, like being on the day to day, at least in the Marine Corps, right? So you know I had to really go out of my comfort zone, and and I felt compelled to because I already knew that I wanted to get out of the Marine Corps. So like I had that pressure of like, hey, like I got to really start setting myself up, right? So I was running the business, it was starting to grow. And as I'm getting out, I got accepted into a business program, a master's, an MBA program for veterans at USC. And I went there for a year, was still running the business. Now, my mom had been a mortgage loan officer for 35 years, recently just retired. She's the one that saw us, seeing other businesses grow. And she's like, "Hey, Chris, like, I need some of this marketing for my own business." And I was like, "Mom," I was like, "I don't know anything about marketing or sales for the mortgage or real estate business." So basically, it started with her. We were implementing some, content strategies. I was showing her how to like work social media. This is in 2018, and her branch manager, like caught wind of this and was just like, "Can you start doing this for all the other loan officers?" And I was like, "Okay, like let's do it." And so I started working with some of their top producers. That led to me doing lunch and learns for realtors, because if you guys don't know, like mortgage people, I think we have all real estate people here, but for those watching, mortgage loan officers, a big referral partner is real estate agents. So I started teaching classes on digital marketing to real estate agents. This is back in 2018. I think it's definitely a lot more popular now, and adapt. It's definitely like it's a baseline. Like if you're a real estate agent, you got to have social media now. But back then, it was still very foreign to a lot of people, and um, so I started doing this to agents. Then that branch manager had me going to different branches of loan officers, and they had me plugged in with their top producer down in Murrieta. And then as soon as we got her on social media and started doing ads and videos for her it just went insane, like how many leads she was getting, right? And it was the same for some of the other mortgage loan officers. Then I did a lunch and learn for another real estate office. An agent pulled me in and wanted to hire me personally. This is still 2018. And then the same thing kind of happened where that broker owner of an office in Whittier brought me in. So I was basically simultaneously doing digital marketing for real estate agents and mortgage loan officers. I saw how much real estate agents and mortgage people make. And I was like, what the heck? Like, this is a lot of money per transaction, right? And somebody told me, actually, one of these top producers was like, Chris, you know what the hardest thing about this business is? And I was like, what? It's like getting the business. He's like, if you are helping people get leads and you have a knack for it, you should get licensed. So February of 2020, I took my 20-hour courses, and I wanted to be on the mortgage side because I always like the leverage of being able to create business and hand it over to real estate agents. So I went on to the mortgage side. February of 2020, taking my test, gonna take my test first week of March of 2020. Canceled. COVID happens, right? I was supposed to have this like 3-year plan until like I went off on my own being a mortgage loan officer, right? The feds dropped the rates to 0% on a Sunday evening. The lady that was mentoring me calls me and says, call the whole entire plan that we have is over. He's like, and nobody knew what was going to happen back then. He's like, it's all over. Call every living soul that you know and tell them that you can refinance their rates. And I was just like, holy cow. Like, so I jumped right in right away, not knowing like what was going to happen. And that just kind of like led to me being a mortgage loan officer. Completely different story now. The mortgage industry is probably, here's a quick stat for where we're at right now, if you don't mind me sharing, Christine.
Of course.
350,000 loan officers did one transaction at the beginning of 2022. At beginning of 2024, 90,000 did one transaction. The prediction for 2025 is 50,000. So I knew a lot of buddies who were gym trainers in Orange County and were loan officers for about 2 years and went back to the gyms to train. And I was very fortunate that I had great coaching from the beginning to build a sustainable business of just very disciplined lead generation. And a lot of stuff with my personal life. I'm very tapped into a lot of self-realization, self-development. So I've had really good mentors to be able to build a sustainable business, and we're thriving more than ever right now, which is crazy in like a really bad market. And I'm very fortunate, and but instead of kind of walking into this market being scared or we were able to adapt, but I have a lot of people to credit as well, but yeah, so that's kind of my story. I run a team, the team being just me as a loan officer. I got 2 loan officer assistants. I have a processor, and yeah, we're under the umbrella of Easy Fundings, and they're based out of Rancho Cucamonga. I live out in the city of Chino. I was gonna tell Norma I'm very fond of the Hispanic Chamber. I went to your guys' expo in Santa Ana this year, and that was awesome. Got to meet some senators. I met the think there was a newspaper. I can't remember the name of it. There's like a newspaper that always sponsors you guys there. But anyways, like very tapped into the veteran community, very tapped into the business community. I'm involved with the Chino Valley Chamber. I'm very tapped into the Hispanic community, the veteran community, and USC community. So just kind of all those is like what I kind of like always like flounder on. So, but I was in DC because I'm the president of the it's called the Veterans Association of Real Estate Professionals. So we're a nonprofit that does legislative work for veterans. We are single-handedly as an organization, a national organization, the reason why there's no VA loan limits on houses. We are also the reason why on the mortgage loan application, it asks you, have you served in the military? So we were the leading organization for that. And right now, what we're trying to push in DC, and our local congresswoman, Michelle Steele, who I sit on her veteran advisory board, co-authored a bill for us to be federally chartered as an organization so that we're able to teach active duty service members who are transitioning to being veterans about home ownership and financial literacy, because they're currently not receiving that right now. Here's another stat. 80% of veterans are homeowners, okay? And that's compared to 66% of the rest of the population, okay? Only 24% of those 80% veterans are actually using their VA home loan. So and there's been a big stigma in the industry. Like, you know, like I kind of said in my story, I'm a little younger in the industry. But you know, there was a big stigma, and there still is, because 60% of my business is VA loans, and I still hear the gripes from listing agents saying, "Oh, a VA loan, can this go conventional instead? Zero down? Like, really?" You know, so you know, I really have to sell myself, you know, to a lot of listing agents and fight, but it shouldn't even be to that. It should be.
Chris, why? Can you shed a little of what your opinion is on that?
So with the VA loan, there's a lot of misconceptions now. There was before, it was tough because there was loan limits. So sometimes you'd have to push prices. The prices were out of range, number one. There's a little bit more paperwork that's done, which honestly is not a big deal. And the requirements of like termites having to be cleared is like one example of like a requirement. Personally, if you're buying a house, I would not waive the termite requirement, because, you know, who wants termites in their house? So just like little things like that, you know, and I think it was always branded as a second rate loan. And, you know, when you're presenting a seller a conventional loan at 20% down payment compared to 0% down payment, and a veteran barely scraping up the closing costs, like which buyer looks stronger to you, right? And veterans, unfortunately, in a market that is very low on inventory, are facing that problem today. And but it used to be worse. And so our job at VA Rep is, number one is our government affairs. So we have three pillars: government affairs, which we just came back from. Number two is the education for the real estate industry. So we work very closely with OCAR, the Orange County Association of Realtors. And we have monthly classes. Love to invite you, Christine, and maybe we can host a VA Rep class over at the Legion one of these days. Silvana is actually on my board as well as a membership director. So, and then number three is our philanthropy. Last year we adopted some veteran families for Christmas. This year I've actually been personally in my business and through VA Rep, we've been sending veterans to these retreats out in Pacific Palisades through a company called Empower Wellness. And they do sound bath healing, cold plunging, breath work. They get to meet with a healing counselor. So it's like kind of like an awakening day for struggling veterans. So that's our philanthropy arm. So anyway, so all entangled in that is just running day-to-day businesses, having the same, running payroll, paying taxes. My brother's my CPA, and sometimes I want to choke him. And just day-to-day, just minutia, of like just running a business and doing transactions, staying organized, trying to be a good boyfriend as well, being having that balance. But I kind of consolidate my life in two things. Basically my material world and my spiritual world. And in my teachings that I go through a center, it's called the Self-Realization Fellowship Center. The guru, Paramahansa, he talks about harmonizing the material and the spiritual and not being one more than the other. I could tell you more people are more material than spiritual. But you can also like have that balance. So constantly trying to find that balance, living, a healthier life. I didn't mention in all of that, I used to be an alcoholic, been clean for 7 years, used to dabble in drugs as well.
Congratulations.
Been all clean. And I've personally done a lot of inner work as well, a lot of insecurities, a lot of, went through a divorce, unfortunately, but a lot of, just past traumas and stuff. And, obviously that's something that's also maybe a topic for another, veteran series forum. And, but, all mixed in with that, that's what, veterans have to face going into business, their own self. And when you're talking about business, especially in the business that we're in, the emotional intelligence that's needed, you're talking with families, you're doing door-to-door sales. When you're door knocking, you're meeting clients face to face. You got to be sharp, and you got to be, your energy and your source, your light's got to be beaming, or people are just, they're gonna have a funny feeling about you and not want to do business with you. So all of that just kind of harmonized for me, and a lot of books went into it, a lot of different mentors and a lot of courses, and it just kind of like all got commingled and harmonized. Now I understand it because it's like, oh wow, like, I used to kind of be like, oh, am I doing this right? Am I meditating right? Or is my ice bath cold enough? But it's a very, a lot of people kind of maybe misjudge me too, Christine. They probably see me a little bit more laid back than I am. Monday through Friday, I'm suited out. I kind of wore the polo today because it's hot out here in New York. But, I have a very disciplined regimen in the morning, writing on my schedule the night before, and, having my whole entire schedule written out and just check boxing everything. We start very early, ice baths, meditation. I do these workouts called functional patterns. I do a crazy like, supplement drinks and stuff, but right now I'm probably as optimal as I've ever been. I'm down like 25 pounds from just getting on a stricter diet. And when we're talking about stuff like this for veterans, I'm like, and I like I was telling you guys, our philanthropy arm with Empower Wellness, I was like, man, veterans just need this. Like humans need all this, from the trainings that I've gone through. So, anyways, I know I went on a rant there.
No,
So
no, this is great. I have a couple things to ask you. Number one, please share that book you shared with me about, because when you're telling me when you're saying your regimen right now, that book stood out. I can't remember the name.
the perfect day formula.
Yes. Amazing. I audiobooked it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's awesome.
And then
Yeah.
what are some of the things you would tell a veteran who's literally at the beginning of thinking, should I start my business? Can I do this? Like, what do I do?
I, and so this is another thing. So I was out there with a bunch of real estate and mortgage people, right? And they're like, man, you've been like you're young in the business and this and that. But I like always remind myself the years that I've been licensed is young, like 4 years I just crossed. But I've been doing business since I was 18 years old. Like I've been swinging the bat, right? And that's what I would suggest to a business. Now, who in their right mind, like people spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to college, right? Imagine this, right? Imagine this, Christine, you're going and you're gonna go to Harvard and pay $300,000 to go to school, but you have a 95% chance that you're gonna fail. Okay,
Yeah.
nobody would do that.
No.
But everybody does that when they get into business because it's a 95% fail rate of business. Like I told you, I saw it at an extreme rate, you know, on the mortgage side, and you guys probably seen it on the real estate side too, of you know, people that, you know, just end up getting a job or this or that, whatever, right? Um, you know, and in business, I mean, that's the true stats. 95% of businesses close their doors within 5 years. And that's like very, I mean, having a business bankruptcy or a hang up, and I don't want to scare anybody, but it's a reality. Everybody wants to run their show. People who work 9 to 5s typically hate their lives, you know, like, you know, it's like they don't want to be bosses. When I was going to USC, I was the youngest guy in my class. I was 26 years old, and there were some old salt dogs, like past Annapolis grads, West Point grads, Air Force grads, multiple deployments, colonels, this, that, and they went high in their careers, right? Guys in their mid 40s, mid 50s, gals too, right? Cops, firefighters, this, and I'm like, I thought these are jobs that people wanted. I thought people like wanted to work for Boeing and Lockheed Martin and be a firefighter for 20 years. I was like, why are you here? Like, why are you like, why are business school? They're like, we want to start our own business. I want to get into business. I want to get into this. And I'm like, for me, it felt like it was just kind of like my dharma. And if you don't know that word, it's like just basically like your life work, like where God like put you, you know. And I kind of grew up in it. But like, there's this big fascination and sexiness about entrepreneurship and business. But man, the day-to-day grind,
Hard work.
everybody's trying to eat your lunch, no matter what. Everybody's trying to take your lunch money. And the perfect example is the way I describe business is just look at the stock market and all these trades that are happening. And that's literally just happening within our own economies here, right? Especially in the mortgage business, especially in the real estate business. And it's crazy, right? So what I would say, and this is a long-winded answer, is you got to swing the bat. You got to swing the bat, and you're probably going to fail because obviously there's a high failure rate, but there's like its own like school of hard knocks that someone has to go through too. You know, I don't. I hope nobody from my class is listening to this, but I tell people like all the time. I've gone back 4 straight years to speak on a real estate panel at USC, and I tell them, look, guys, this is cool, right? And I'll tell you straight up, I did it for the brand, to be in the association. I network with those people. In sales, you gotta have commonality with people, right? I think that's one of the prime reasons I get a lot of Marines who buy houses, right? I just have that commonality right away with them, that connection with them. Spanish speakers, self-employed, SE alum. But I've learned so much like through my own self-education, whether it's my own books, mentors, and even just masterminds, like people you want to be around. Somebody today, so I mentor a lot of loan officers at our company. Somebody today told me like, Chris, because we're involved in the same coaching group, I don't think I'm getting anything from this coaching group. And I'm like, why? She's like, I don't know. Just like my business isn't growing. I was like, she's like, why are you in it? Like, why do you use this coaching group? And I'm like, I'm literally paying money just to be around other successful loan officers. Like the people you hang out with, they always say like the 10 people that you hang out with the most, that's who you literally become. So another piece of advice. So number one, you got to swing the bat. Number two, self-education. Number three, you got to hang out with people that are crushing it in your business and whoever you want to be. And you got to take them out to lunch. If you don't got the money, get a credit card, take them out to lunch and say, hey, I just want to follow you. I just want to smell your air. Whatever you're doing, I'm going to shadow you like a parrot. And we're going to do this business. I'll give a story if you don't mind, Christine.
Yeah.
I went to I have a coaching group that I'm involved with. This guy, he's a crusher. His name's Scott Groves. He's out in Vegas. And we had a coaching event in Scottsdale. Like this is like 2 years ago. And one of the loan officers, and we were saying like, you know, you get a lot of business from real estate agents, goes, man, you know what, man? I just tired of these agents because the agents can be relentless too. And he goes, man, I'm just tired of these agents. And then Scott goes, well, you might as well just get out of the business because you're going to have to talk to these guys if you want to do your business. And he goes, or he said, or you can be like Mark Cohen, who will literally tell an agent to F off. And I was like, who's Mark Cohen? I look him up. Number one mortgage broker in the nation in Beverly Hills. Okay. SC alum. I call him. I just randomly call him. Mark Cohen, look him up. He was Scotsman's Guide like 3 years straight, number one producer. And I'm like, I get to his assistant. I'm like, hey, this is Chris Pacheco. Can I speak with Mark? They're like, hey, Mark's really busy. Like, what do you want? I was like, I'm an SC alum. I just want to talk to him. I just, want to pick his brain a little bit. I'm looking for some mentorship, right? I'll tell him to call you back. Never calls him back. So I call him a second time, right? He goes, the assistant goes, call him back at 5 o'clock at this time. I call him, right? Go through another assistant, two assistant layers. Then it gets to him, right? And he goes, hello. And I'm like, yeah, I'm Chris. I'm this. He goes, what do you want? And I'm like, sir, I just seen your number one. You're going to think this is really weird, but I just need to see what the number one guy looks like in our business. And granted, he closed $750 million in fundings. Okay, so just do the math. Probably making about, he runs his own market, Cohen Financial, probably making 2.5 to 3 points per deal, right? All paper loans, by the way, in blue envelope. It was crazy. And if you go on his LinkedIn, this guy's funding like $20 million refinances in like Malibu. Ended up finding out he knows all the power brokers, does all the celebrities all around LA, right? So I was like, you're going to think this is really weird, but I just need to see the number one guy in this industry. And then he goes, this makes no sense to me, but you can come and see me. I ended up coming with a gift, all suited out, going to Beverly Hills, my Audi A4 in the middle of all these Rolls Royces everywhere, right? And I walk up into his office and I just like I was just like, this is what I'm supposed to do. Like, I just want to be around this. And he was shocked. He was shocked that somebody was not asking him for money or trying to sell him on something. And I just told him, no, sir, I'm trying to become what you have become because you are the number one in our industry, and that's it. And he was just so impressed by it. We talk on social media like pretty often. And I don't know, I just wanted to name that as one example. And that's a pretty extreme example. I went to the top, the very top of it. And I highly suggest for whatever industry you're in, even if you're watching this and you're not into entrepreneurship, I still believe coaching and personal development and career development is huge. If you're a cop and you look up to one of your senior officers, pick their brain, get that mentorship, and that's aside from your day-to-day job. Like, you still got to do your day-to-day, but I feel like if you really want to rise, you got to put those extra reps in, offline, that self-education.
So now let me ask you this. With that, it is very difficult for someone you can get the courage to start to do the initial conversation, right?
Yeah.
And then following up and following through, how would you suggest that is done, right? Because as you mentioned, you didn't sell him anything, and that's why he was impressed. You got your foot in the door. You were very persistent. You went through, you mentioned what, 5 assistants? Most people give up at the first one.
I think it was like 2 or 3, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, to be honest, most people give up at the first one, right? They're like, oh, they're never gonna call me, so forget it. It's not worth my time, right? But you had the tenacity, you had the persistence, and then you actually went to go visit him.
Yeah.
But now, as you mentioned, you continue that camaraderie
Yeah.
to be able to do that. How would you say that is? Was that something that came natural to you? Was that something that you keep on trying? Is it something that it's you gotta get over the certain fear of not being able to be at that level of that kind of person? What would you say is that?
I think, and this is the thing too, like some people are just like way too busy too, you know. I think I was just fortunate because I've been treated like crap by people that are half of that what that guy was too, you know. And there's a lot of no's. I didn't mention all the no's that happened all in between that, you know. So I mean that's a swing in the bat in itself. What's nice though is especially in business, there's a lot of mastermind groups you can join that are just around people. And I would even step out, like I'm really big into like treating sales like art, you know, because we're very like I can't remember which one it is, the right brain or the left brain. That's like the logical one. I can never remember. But like there's a book called The Creative Act. It's by Rick Rubin. He's like a famous um music producer. He like made like the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Eminem and all these guys, right? Adele. But that book was so good about just like that creativity and you know and the how I'm answering that question is be able to step out into other different types of industries and other businesses that can give you a lot of ideas. That's why I love the Chamber of Commerce because you just see a ton of different businesses everywhere, man. And I'm always just curious, like, how do they make money? Like, are they even making money? You know, if they're making money, there's something good here, right? That like anybody who's like successful at their work, especially in business, with the level of competition that is around, you know that that person has some type of talent or some type of skill, you know. And you know, I would say, you know, my coach tells me this: instead of being interesting, be interested. And as you guys know, I like to talk a lot. Why? Because Christine gave me the platform over here to blab my mouth because people love talking about themselves, right? So I would even like come up with those questions. Successful people, and I read this in a book about how to market to the affluent. They say that the affluent people are the most like referral based people, like because they've already made so much money that they love impressing their friends of people they refer people to. Like let's say like I referred you, Yogi, to like go and like do a painting for Christine or whatever, and she was impressed. Like she like that's like a thing. You know what I mean? Like with human psychology, they like knowing that someone was impressed that you referred them that person. The same thing, right? When you're talking with somebody, be interested, come with those questions ready to go. Like, how did you make it, man? Like you're crushing it. Like, how did you make it? You're tapping into that ego on them. They're gonna want to talk, you know? And I think that was the kind of the approach that I came to him with. I was like, I just want to sit here and be in this energy field. And he was like looking at me. He's like an older cat, like very like conservative, like Jewish dude. And like I was like, I just want to be in this realm, man. And like he was impressed by it. And that's one of many. Like my personal mentor used to be the CEO of the biggest oil company in California, and he started his own private equity firm. Guy was a West Point grad, just salt dog. He was a commander in Desert Storm, and I go there literally because obviously he was a CEO of a big corporation, multi-millionaire. He's the only guy that I know that drives a Lamborghini Urus, and he like pulled up to it and he took me out to eat at Islands. And I was like, come on, man, Islands, and you're driving a Lamborghini Urus, bro. And, and but, I had already met him, obviously, but it's just like you tapping into that realm of just being in that successful realm.
Yeah.
You're gonna eventually get to it because this is another thing too. If you start network like valuable people that are skilled, right? They're usually pretty disciplined with their time. People that are in that realm are pretty disciplined with their time, and they don't really want to be around things that waste their time, right? So there's a pressure that you put on yourself by being in those masterminds, in those groups, on yourself. Like, hey, I gotta level up if these people are even gonna like want me to hang out with them, you know? And if they want to hang out with you, I mean, that's your own network as well. You know, those are people you want to put on your database. And, you know, one tip advice as well, Christine, to someone who's starting, you know, don't be so like single-minded, like that you're going to this Orange County Chamber event and like, how many leads can I get?
Yeah.
Or I'm going to go, and I'm sure, Christine, you've seen it at the Legion, these insurance people, these mortgage people, these real estate people, these wheelchair people, they want to like come and just sell crap to veterans, and they want to wave their flags that we're all about veterans. And, you know, you don't see them again because they didn't get any business out of it. And admittingly, I get it. I get it. I only started networking with the Marine Corps League, with the American Legion down in San Juan, the one in Newport, because I wanted those leads. I was like, oh, I'm gonna just tap in. It was when I started, instead of looking at leads, started looking at people like just human beings. How many human beings can I make? If they're not gonna buy from me, how can I make them an advocate of my business, a champion of my business, right? And if you're looking at it going into that, like in the same mentality, networking, trying to find a mentor, just running into somebody at Starbucks, like just start looking at people like that and just build from there, build that sphere of influence, and it just slowly grows and slowly grows. I've been on the East Coast for like the last 4 days, Christine, and I've gotten like 15 leads in my phone. And it's crazy. It's just like, but it's all like sphere of influence stuff, you know? And I don't know, it was just like a big like just like mentality change, you know? And it's just crazy. Like, you know, they're like, it's like so like not linear, like especially like they have this thing in sales. And HubSpot, I always use this example. HubSpot has this great they did a survey of, and if you don't know HubSpot, they're like a big like CRM marketing company, and they ran a survey of 1 million people that bought random stuff, cars, freaking ballet lessons for their kids, football tickets, random stuff. They just get 1 million people. Like, what influenced your choice the most in purchasing that transaction? 83% of people said word of mouth referrals, right? So that is still the gold standard, no matter how much AI and how much crap is coming out now. Word of mouth referrals are still like the number one reason. And number two was just social proof, right? Of, you know, seeing something on like social media or reviews or whatever.
Established. Yeah.
I looked at my pipeline one day because I was like so linear, like, well, where do I get leads and which agent should I talk to and what CPA should I be talking to and this and that and this, and the sales managers are always like on top of you with all this stuff. I looked, I'm like, okay, how did I get this closing? How did it originate? And it's always random. It's always some random stuff. Like I met somebody that I serve with. I met somebody that I went to school with. I met somebody that was in my life in elementary school, like, and we just stayed in touch, you know. So it's just so random how you can get your word of mouth, but to just make it simple and consolidate it, treat everyone great, and be a relentless databaser. Get your business cards, get your Blink card, you know, with your
Yes.
whatever. I do both because I like to still hand out paper, you know. And maybe we can get into it another time because there's, you know, like
Oh, we have to do another one. And like, I literally have to say this real quick. Norma and I keep connected, definitely, because Norma and I are literally going to teach on just what you just said right now, the sphere of influence, how you're connecting with people, the motivation behind it, because like you just said, people don't realize the power behind meeting everyone.
Yes.
Everyone.
I'm going through another great book that I just finished, and you'll like this because you're a real estate agent. Um, Ryan Serhant. He's like the #1 broker in America.
Yes.
Um, he's the guy from Million
This
Dollar.
came spoke to our agency. Yeah.
Yeah, $1 million listing. I think they
Mhm.
just came out the new show called Owning Manhattan. And the dude's like super fresh. Like he has a book called Big Money Energy. And I actually joined his sales classes that he has like a forum called Sell It. It's really like inexpensive and it's like just gold. I was on a bus right now from DC over here to New York um, for about 5 hours. And I just completed like this whole course on just like the sphere of influence. And like he was talking about like, uppity like Manhattan bar scene, like, and that's his crowd, like that he sells to. And, there's just so much that goes into just that. Like he gets super detailed about the workouts you do, your diet,
Mhm.
how you're dressing. I mean, he's like goes into like the suits that he wears, how he relentlessly adds people to their databases, how he's being teaches a lot about just being invaluable. But it's just like so crazy to do it in like an hour even in like entrepreneurship. But step one, you just got to get out there. You know,
Yeah.
I posted something today. I reshared something on this page that I found. It's like somebody out there is less talented than you are, but the biggest difference is that they act and they're crushing it more than you are. And the biggest difference was that they actually took action. You know, I don't consider myself the smartest tool in the shed, honestly. But I just know that like if I was ever a boxer, I would never be like the knockout artist. I'd probably just be like the guy that could go
I'll take
all
it.
rounds, man. You know, like some guy, and there's a lot of people that are a lot more talented than me in the mortgage industry that aren't crushing it because they either just like don't want to make the calls, they're not disciplined with their systems, and it's just like you ever seen that like chart? You ever, if you look it up, it's like the 10 valuable things that you need zero talent for. It's like being on time, like having good etiquette, your presentation, it's like, it's just really simple, but I
The
hope that,
basic that people don't think about.
yeah, that's like Kobe's thing that he talked about. He was just a master at the basics. And but yeah, I hope this helped, at least bring a light into some people, because jumping into business, especially if you got family, that's a hard talk. And but sometimes the two like that pressure to be able to make it, that can actually drive you. But if you're single and you got no kids and you want to approach a dream, like now's your opportunity to fail, because it's easier to live in a box on the side of the freeway, by yourself than having your whole family in there, and it's a risk, that you're running to do money wise, time wise, reputation wise too, so um it's good. It's good stuff. And Christine, if any veteran, one thing that I would like to offer, if any veteran like wants to reach out to me just to like talk and not get sold on mortgages, they can call me, and I'm more than happy to kind of guide them. There's a lot of resources for veterans. Veteran business outreach centers are good. There's a lot of networking with small businesses and veterans. I think I read a stat from the SBA that said that 10% of businesses owned in America are veteran-owned businesses. So veteran-owned businesses are actually in charge of 10% of the labor in this country. So we have a mission to provide jobs for not just for people to serve us. And we hear that narrative of like, serving those who served us. No, we need to continue to serve our community because there's a person, Billy Schmo out there that needs a job too. And we have already proven data that veteran-owned businesses succeed. And like I said, just swing that bat. That's going to be step one.
is awesome. Well, we're gonna talk more. We're gonna do some more of these with you, and definitely Norman and I are gonna have you connect with us.
Sweet.
You guys.
If
I'm
I can just say one thing, Christine, and for anybody that's out there that's looking to go into the entrepreneurial, because I've been there, and we have to realize that for a while we're gonna be solopreneurs, and we have to stick it out until you build your business that has a system that runs for you. Then you have a real business. In the meantime, we should gotta stick it out. So it's a lot of people out there that are making it, and they started somewhere. And Chris gave a lot of great pointers. Having that mentor that has an interest in you, that is willing to help, and people like he mentioned what he did, right, with the top producer. People that are there already, they're more open to helping you. So don't be afraid to just ask, because that's it. Asking is it's a huge part of what we need to do. We can be I used to be afraid to think that, hey, I don't know everything, so I gotta ask, and I can't be ashamed to ask and just stay there and stay behind just because I'm afraid to ask that I'm gonna look weak or that I don't know what I'm doing. So you gotta ask regardless, because that's the only way that you're gonna get ahead. So that's my 2
Norma,
cents.
and Norma, I know you're in the mortgage industry. I followed you on Instagram, and
Yes.
one of the things that I actually saw that was like, and I experienced this when I went to SC, because I was the youngest guy in the class. I got a freaking MARSOC operator, special forces guy, who, crushed, and I'm looking at like, like, bro, you're a G, man. Like saying, hey, Chris, for real, man, like, can you mentor me? I'm like, what? Like, I'm fresh out of the Marine Corps. Like, like they would never ask me that, like, while I was in the Marine Corps, and this is another battlefield out here in entrepreneurship, right? And I have older loan officers in their 40s and 50s. I'm 32, and I don't want to say this in an arrogant way, but they're asking me like, "Hey, Chris, can you get with me for a cup of coffee?" And I'm honored. I'm like, "Yes," and I'm like, and to have that emotion, the humility and the emotional intelligence at an older age to ask a younger person who's doing better than you to do it, I was like, I'm a fan. I'm a fan. And for me, it's like, if you're an older veteran, like out there, and you say, dude, I'm like way too old to try to start businesses, you're going to regret it a year from now that you didn't start a year before, and, just have that humility that sometimes people might be younger. Sometimes people might be of a different gender to you, and, I have a lot of women that I mentor as well in this business, and, men too, obviously. And, you just don't, it can be very random. And I tell these people, I'm like, man, I hope I have the humility when I'm older to be able to do that to you. And I've already seen early 20 somethings crushing it in the mortgage industry too, getting huge, doing massive transactions in Orange County. So I take that back. I've already seen it, and I've, acquainted myself with those people. But yeah, it's just humility is, I think Jocko Willink, the Navy SEAL, he talks about that. He goes, the top 3 skills for like a man or something like that. He said, humility, humility, and humility.
Extreme leadership. Work. Yeah.
Yep. Humility. So, if anyone wants to reach out to me, they can just, Google me, or, I'm more than happy to talk to literally anybody. And yeah, let me know if you guys host live events. Love to sponsor, love to, bring people out, help you market it. Hope to see you guys at our some VA rep event. We're having a big golf tournament in September. So we'd love to have you. We're actually having an event at the beginning of the month with Michelle Steele as well. So if you guys want more info,
yeah, share that one too with us, because
we'll definitely do that. It's like a legislative update. But
veteran liaison Joseph Dreyer had shared that this is going to be a good community event. So definitely.
Yeah, Joseph Dyer, we're very good friends with him. But like I said, that's just another example. Just just more network, and more just good stuff, right? But it's been an honor to hop on with you guys.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions or?
Well, I do have more of a statement than
Yeah.
a question. And I think that a lot of our brothers and sisters that are out there that have thought about doing a business or that entrepreneur type position, because you could be a entrepreneur inside of a company, be so valuable that you end up um, kind of being not like an entrepreneur where you own the business, but you're so valuable. Like, oh man, inside of Apple, you had Steve Jobs, but then you had some other guys that created some really awesome stuff, and they became so valuable they became very wealthy because of it. And the thing that I'm trying to get to is, studies have shown between 44% um, and 45-ish veterans quit their first job when they post-military career. And
Really?
then in the second year, it goes up to 80% that
Wow.
leave before their second anniversaries. So you need to, I think that we need to give ourselves some leeway and realize that we're kind of learning how to become that next thing after service,
Yeah.
and realize that growth and humility, like you were just saying, is super important during this process. So I uh, I know from my own personal experience going through it and owning multiple businesses, it's been kind of a fun road trying to create a new business and run multiple other businesses at the same time. And at times, I am often reminded to forgive myself for not being perfect every single time, but to do exactly what you said, and that is to um, do the 10 basic things that require zero talent, which I put in the chat, by the
Yeah,
way,
that's cool,
because
man.
yeah,
Yeah. No, that's huge. And like, when we're talking from like a business standpoint, you know, I hate to like just silo it just to like entrepreneurs, like and business, small business owners, but like you said, there's entrepreneurs, right? Right? Maybe you do want to be an engineer and just be the absolute best at that. I got another book recommendation as well. It's called Be So Good They Can't Ignore You. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with that one. Cam uh, Cal Newport he's like an academic guy. He has other famous books like How to Be a Straight A Student. He has one called Deep Work, but this book was really good because this one like just you want to talk about humility. Reading this one, you're just like it'll make you second guess a lot of stuff that you're doing in your life because his whole thing is whatever is in front of you,
Mhm.
you got to do it. You got to be so good at it, and that's where your passion comes out. Is when you build that skill set. I would be lying if I told you right now, Christine. I love doing mortgages. Oh my gosh, I love quoting people's rates. I love how other mortgage loan officers just want to make half a point on a deal or do it for free just to get a deal, and how mortgage I hate, there's a lot. I wish I could just like have like a store that somebody just walks in and just grabs something and it just gives me money for it. And I always use that example because I get one lead, it's talking about 15 leads. Who knows? Maybe one or two actually end up purchasing, into a house. I think car salesmen have better conversion rates than real estate and mortgage people. And because they walk into a place and they buy a car, right? Um, you know, I think where was I going with that? Remind me, I'm so sorry. I lost my train of thought.
Be the best at everything.
Okay. Yeah. So there's in this book, he talks about, and you can look up YouTube videos that these guys, like a lot of people, and there's like a famous Steve Jobs like commencement speech at Stanford where he's like talking about like do what you love and this and that. And like a lot of entrepreneurs and people see that and they're like, oh, I hate being a plumber and working for the man. I'm gonna quit and start like my own hat company, and then they end up finding out that nobody gives a shit about your hats. and then you end up bankrupt and divorced, right? And then, like, and it's like his whole thing is like, get good at what you do. And that's where you get passion. And they've done so many surveys with people like, hey, where was your skill set and your joy level? And it's across the board. It's like the data is just so what's the right word? Like proven that if you're good at what you do, you're gonna love what you do. You're gonna get a passion from it, not necessarily like, hey, I have a passion in art. Doesn't mean you have to quit being a commercial banker to go be Picasso. You know what I mean? One of the cool things though that I got from the Sirhan book, he wanted to be an actor and he was dead broke. And he actually ended up like being in real estate and in sales, which he never saw himself in. And he still put that passion that he thought he had still mixed into his business. You know what I mean? Like I'm really into personal development, self-realization, meditation, and I kind of make it part of my brand, as you've probably seen, Christine. So it's like you add your flavor and creativity to your own work, but you still don't quit on what you do. If you hate, if you don't think that selling insurance is your passion, why don't you just try being really, really, really damn good before you quit and see if something changes there, So that's my last rant for the night.
No, it's really good. Everything you have in front of you, you should do 100%. And you're right. You do find a passion and it brings you to another level. Not only gets you noticed, but it gives you a drive as if everything you're doing is your owned business.
Yeah.
You're super grateful for it.
Yeah.
And that it just blows up. People notice it. You're doing really well. And that discipline helps you when you start doing your own thing.
Yes. Yeah. And, that's probably another topic for another time, but people like get into business because they're like, I just want to like have my own hours and
Anytime,
not, I'm like, bro, I was like, one of the best influences that I had, and I actually met him and I froze up on stage was Gary V. Gary
No.
V, entrepreneur. I loved his thing.
Yeah.
He was just like, you better like quit your weekends, like hanging out with the boys. Like, yeah, this is like serious work because the guy that's not hanging out with the boys, that's putting in work, is gonna eat your lunch, And I'm out here in New York right now, and I'm talking about Gary Vee, Sir. They're all like New York guys, and the hustle out here is crazy. Like people are just selling like crazy, like out on the streets, dudes in suits, Wall Street. And I told my girl she hates it because she's moving out to LA, and I'm like, yeah, I was like, I love this. Like I feel like it's like this is like what I need to see, like I just love that grind. But yeah, I tell guys, I'm like, dude, yeah, like you're gonna, if that's what you're getting into business for, to have your own hours to chill. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I've been like able to travel, Christine, but I'm like every break I've had, like I've been working. Like people that I went out on this trip with, they're like, dude, you're crazy. I'm like, I have to do this. Like I can't go and just chill and see the freaking White House, and the freaking Thomas Jefferson or whatever. I gotta take care of this family that wants to buy a house.
It's an opportunity.
Yeah. I don't, and I'm trying to like find that, like, I'm happy that you brought me on, Christine, but like for those watching, by no means like have I made it in life. I've been very fortunate, very, financially independent, like, been able to retire my mom, got through a very expensive divorce. I call that a badge of honor as well. And I know there's a lot of divorce veterans out there too. Again, topic for another time. But I've done well, been independent, but it's like when you are actually passionate about something, whether you're W-2 employee or an entrepreneur, and tell me if I'm wrong, like you're gonna put in the extra work and the extra hours to own it. If you're a gamer, you're a gamer, bro. You know, like just like in the military, if you're a dude, you're a dude. You know, they used to call him that dude. You know, so anyways, guys, but I absolutely love this. I'm fired up now. It's 10 o'clock over here, and I want to go make some like prospecting.
Oh man, you want to go grind?
Yeah, I want to go grind right now. I'm about to call for some refinances right now.
Oh my goodness.
Start calling
It's still
Europe or
early. It's still
Japan.
early on the West Coast, so yes.
Norma's going to go dial the pound the phone.
Oh yeah, I have 2 appointments to go. So yeah, you're right. It doesn't end when you're on business by yourself. You just gotta go. You gotta be ready. Yep, that's it.
Hey, Chris. Hey, thanks so much. Hey, guys, I have to roll. I'm late to my own birthday party. So,
Happy birthday, brother.
yeah.
Happy birthday. Enjoy.
Okay.
Thank you,
Feliz
Christine.
cumpleaños.
Happy
Thank you so much,
birthday.
guys. Great veteran series. We'll definitely do this again. I hope to see you all again. Chris, we are going to be talking to you about some more events we have coming up, and we'd love to have you part of it. And there's more training to do. People need to understand this. They need to understand wellness and discipline and all that's involved. And it's an ongoing learning process. So love to have you.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thank you, Christine. This is 2 for 2 and wonderful events. So.
Well, I'll share the link and we can keep sharing this message over and over and over again.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Christine.
Enjoy your night, you guys. Thank you, everyone. Great to see you.
Thank you. Have a good night.